All right, my friends, welcome back to another episode of the Build Show podcast. That's right, my weekly time to get together with you guys and go deep. I got my buddy Steve Baczek in the studio today.
Howdy.
And we are talking about a brand new series that Steve is working on right now. The house is actually in the framing stage, but as of right now, you can go to the website, thebuildshow.com, and see the Forever Home series. Episode 1 has dropped.
Yep.
And so we're going to jump into all the details on this particular project, but I'm particularly interested in this project because I'm thinking about what do I do now that I'm almost an empty nester. I only have a few more years of my kids in the house. My oldest is already out of the house in college. So this kind of forever home concept is very applicable, whatever the correct word is, applies to me in my 50s as I think about that. With that being said, from the Rice & Grow Build Studios in Austin, Texas, let's get going. All right, Steve Baczek, Forever Home. Explain the term or why it means something to this particular client.
So these particular clients, it's kind of twofold. One, it's his dream to build, his kind of final home. They don't plan on leaving. He has an occupation that keeps him in the town that he's in. His house or his office is about literally a half a mile from his house.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's a really good scenario for that. It's a quaint little New England town. The builder, Shoreline Builders, that's Jim and Taylor, if you remember. I've done work with them for the last 30
builders.
years. Yeah.
Good dudes.
It's a privilege to work with those guys. But in terms of Forever Home, they wanted a home that obviously would be their forever home. But the husband also has a situation where his brother, who was taken care of by his mother formerly, has now become his responsibility. And so his brother is a paraplegic who's in a wheelchair for perpetuity. He's not coming out of the wheelchair, so we have to design our house around him and all of the metrics that come along with him being in a wheelchair, the requirements of all his medical needs and services, et cetera, et cetera. Now, in addition to the husband and wife and the brother, is the husband's sister is also going to be living in the house.
Wow.
Because she's going to share in the duties of taking care of the brother.
Interesting.
And so you basically have 3 families that are living under one roof together. And the idea is probably that all 3 families are there forever.
And they need a little space.
And they need a little
quiet retreat, probably.
And it's funny because you need spaces. It's a house that you need spaces you can retreat to and call your own. But then you need community spaces that are a lot of space.
Yeah. Because
you have somebody that's moving around in a wheelchair. And, you need their space to park and still be able to walk around them and do their thing. So it was a very interesting design working with it. And, I learned a lot about it. And the client, particularly the husband, they had some very specific processes of like how the brother takes a shower, how, the brother gets dressed in the morning. And so we had to design the house around rather than saying, well, we could do this. You give it a lot of room here. Yeah, but that's not how he does it. He gets out of the bed on the right side, right? Or he gets out of the bed on the left side. Whatever the condition is, they had very specific conditions of how the brother maneuvers through the day.
That's fascinating.
That we had to apply to the function of the house.
Plus all the traditional things of, hey, I don't want another house, so I want really low maintenance. I want reasonable electric bills. I want to think about maybe even renewables. I want to think about backup power, especially as I get older. I might have a medical device that I can't lose power for someday if I'm aging in place in this house. My parents are, by the way, 90 years old and still living in their version of a forever home. My dad and mom built that house at age 65 or 67, something like that. And they're 90, still living in the house. And there was a few things that I told them. They don't listen to the podcast, so I can talk about this. Or if they are, I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. But there's some things that I told them 20 years ago, like, hey, this could be a problem as you get older. That is a problem that they're working around. Right. Things like they mainly live on the first level, but they have a giant basement and they have a smaller second story that it's getting more and more difficult to get to those areas.
Yeah. So you have to be cognizant of that. That coupled with the husband is probably one of the Build Show's biggest fans.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
He's
awesome.
watched every
I
video.
can't wait
He is
to meet this
dying to
guy.
meet you.
That's awesome.
And he is out there. His wife is out there when we're shooting some of the episodes. She's out there shooting videos of us shooting video. So she can show him what happened that day we were out there shooting videos.
Oh man, that's so great. I love hearing that.
But that being said, he really understands a lot of the things that we believe in. And so he's trying to align his thoughts as best as he can and as best as his budget will allow.
Sure.
To everything that we talk about and say and want to do in a house.
Give me one example of just one thing. I'm sure there's 12 of them or 24 of them that is something that you had to figure out, hey, the absolute best for this, whatever product situation is this, but that doesn't either meet our budget or maybe some other requirement. So we're going to back off and do this instead. I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
Yeah.
But like as a quick, for example, my buddy Daniel Galauser,
yes,
our executive PM, he has longboard siding on his current house. Yep. Very small house, not a very big house. And longboard siding is a like baked powder coated aluminum product that has a full rain screen. He's got a full exterior. He basically did a passive house remodel retrofit in his house. It's a bomber cladding, but it's also not the least cost, right? It's not the same price category as James Hardy that I used on my house. Yep. So that was one thing that he was really interested in, really splurged on, spent the money on. I'm curious if you have an example from this project that you could maybe review for us on that.
Well, we're going to do some cement board siding. I mean, it's a very traditional New England house, meaning we have lap siding on the front elevation. The other three elevations, we have white cedar shingles. And so having those cedar shingles, they're going to gray out to their natural gray. But, the homeowner is kind of keying in on that New England look and putting, things like cement board. So we kind of backed into that in cost that comes pre-finished. There's a lot of things to choose there. We have a full complement of AZEK exteriors.
Ooh, nice.
Where, we have a nice historic sill.
That's cool.
A bunch of our trim and stuff going on the windows. We have European windows, triple glaze from EAS.
Cool.
Happening there. And, of course, I think we have a Mitsubishi system as far as our heating and cooling.
Got some really nice specs on this house.
Rockwell insulation below the slab, up the walls, on the outside of the foundation.
Killer.
In the walls above. And one of your favorites, this is the first time that I'm doing it, and, of course, Jim, but we've teamed up with the people at Builders First Source. And so we're doing a ready frame package. And we got all of our floor system from them. They're going to be making all of our roof trusses. So that's been an experience to, work out the details and coordination with them on the whole framing system. And that's where we are right now physically in the build.
Very
we
cool.
have a bunch of episodes, that we've already shot, and we'll be shooting some more later this week on the framing. But yeah, and there's things too that you have to.
Is this Shoreline Builders' first time using Ready Frame?
Yes, this is the first
cool.
time. I think it's probably one of the first times that Ready Frame is coming out of the Builders First Source Northeast.
Oh, neat.
So
that's
we're
awesome.
kind of releasing that.
That's killer.
But getting back to when you started asking the question, it took my mind right to, let's think of the house from the brother's perspective in the wheelchair, right? I mean, if you're a person in a wheelchair, and I can only, project what
hard.
it is. I can't speak from experience. But in talking to his brother that's going to offer the care, one of the things that I was always kind of, I won't say fighting for, but was cognizant of is, someone in a wheelchair 24/7, or, when he's not in his bed, obviously, but someone that needs that kind of care, what can we do to make them feel independent? Like, what can we do to make them feel a part of their life during the day? And one of the things, for example, was his closet in his room. It's got a set of double doors. It's deeper than normal, so he can physically slide right in, and then he can pick out his clothes for the day.
That's awesome.
Now, some of us sit there and go, oh, wow. But to him, you have to understand, if you scale his world inside that house, picking out your clothes for the day is huge.
Yeah.
And it just makes you feel real
independent.
And independent,
yeah.
Right? To do some things like that. Having his bathroom, and it's like, it doesn't necessarily have all of the ADA requirements, but that's because they've developed ways for him to use different facilities and, like I said earlier, processes that we then transferred those, via conversation of, okay, we do this, then we do that, then we do this. And then I made that part of the architectural space.
That's fascinating. I want to ask you a question about working with Shoreline. I'm curious. You've worked with Jim and Taylor. Well, Jim, he's the dad, the older.
Yeah, before Taylor was probably born.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Jim and I have been together for 30 years.
How about that? That's incredible.
It's before all three of my kids.
So this may not be as applicable considering you've worked with them for 30 years, but I'm curious, when you work with Jim, like, you probably have a sense for Jim prefers this process or Jim likes this product. In fact, in our other series, we're going to talk about our next podcast, which is our Build Science 401. I heard you specifically mention, Jim really likes this Benjamin Obdyke product. So I spec'd it in. My guess is Jim well enough that when you're designing a house, you almost design based on understanding Jim's
standard.
Yeah, Jim's standard and his capability too, probably, right?
Yeah, we know his framer. I know his framers. I was out there. We were laughing and joking last week when we were shooting the floor framing.
How about that?
And
that's awesome.
He made a little mistake, and I was teasing him about it, and but it totally fine. But just the idea that I have that kind of relationship.
That's really
with his
powerful.
Guys that we can have that conversation and we can talk about it. I can also go to him with the dumbest question because I just don't understand why he chose to do something a certain way, and he'll take the time to fully explain it to me.
That's pretty
with
cool.
Why I did it this way, and this is how I see it. Other guys would do it this way. I choose my way for this reason.
Let me ask you another random question that I was thinking about today. With you and Jim working, do you generally have a pretty good sense of where that price is going to be as you're, going from a schematic design development to a full set of construction drawings that Jim is probably giving you and the client feedback on? Or did you on this project in particular have some VE like, this is getting a little more than I thought based on today's, 2025 pricing that maybe this or that product or this or that sub is different pricing than where they were a year or two ago? Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, I know all the subs. Jim has a really good handle on pricing. And what we do is at the beginning, and Jim is in every design meeting. And fabulous. I'll tell you, Jim is an active participant.
That's fabulous.
Like I've had builders in design build meetings. They claim they're design build, but they are really, silent occupants until the bid has come out and they have to defend it. Right? Jim will very easily say, yeah, if you do that, you can, but that's going to add X amount of dollars to the budget. And if you want that above and beyond the price we talked about, then sure, we can go down that road.
But you're upping the budget right now.
But you're upping the budget with that stone fireplace. And you're not upping it $5,000. That stone fireplace might be $60,000.
Yeah.
And so immediately,
an active participant is the word I heard you say there.
Exactly. And the homeowners might say, well, if it wasn't stone, what can we do? And Jim is very good about, well, if we don't do that, we could frame it, put a stone veneer on, put a gas fireplace in there, and your $60,000 might go down to $20,000,
right,
or $18,000, depending on your fireplace of choice, or whatever the case is. But he has a really good handle. At the beginning, we talk about, because we have so many projects in our history, we can look at it and say, oh, well, this is going to be, pretty much the same as Mathis or whoever, Jones. And so I understand, we're not going and doing 3 pieces of baseboard. Upstairs, we might do a speed base, all one piece, but downstairs, maybe we hold true to the 2-piece or 3-piece baseboard.
I love it.
So he does a really good job of his spec book when he is done and proposing the contract. It is all in there.
That's fabulous.
And he knows all of the components, and he's understood that he will take the homeowners, and sometimes I can join him, sometimes maybe not, but he'll go to the lumberyard and he'll say, these are the interior doors we use. You and Steve worked out that it's a 2-panel door. This is exactly what it looks like.
That's cool. That's cool.
Do you want to change it? If you do, let me know. Here's a 3-panel. Here's a, 4-panel door, whatever, 1 panel, whatever the case is. And he'll walk through all of those options.
That's pretty cool.
He is, he's very good. I think, I know you have more questions, but I think probably the most outstanding statistic with Jim, 30 years, well over 100 projects. I've never counted them.
Oh my gosh.
Definitely.
Wow.
Jim and I have never argued.
Is that
Neither
right?
one of us has ever raised our voice
That's
or
fabulous.
walked away
That's so
from
great.
each other in disgust in any level. Nothing. We both understand. Have I made mistakes in 30 years? Yes. Has Jim made mistakes in 30 years? Yes. But we both walk away knowing neither one of us is perfect.
Yeah, there's some wisdom, there's some maturity, and there's some being a true gentleman, all wrapped
Yes.
into one right there. And that shows the power of a good working team.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could say that I've worked with the same architects time and time again for my 20 years I've been in business. I haven't, but I have used the same trade base consistently time and time again. And that's a big part of it, is that I like working with people that we value each other. We're open for input. It's one of the things I love working with you, Steve, is that you're so open to input, and you never have this bull in a china shop, my way or the highway kind of attitude. And I suspect that's one thing that really makes you and Jim so compatible.
Yeah, and I think, to add to that, I think the strongest point of Jim and I is we're both in a boat rowing in the same direction.
That's
and
huge.
we know that.
Yeah.
Right? We don't
huge.
battle each other because we understand that a successful project means both of us need to come together and provide the solutions for the homeowner.
Yeah, that's right.
And, it's funny because Jim will he'll offer aesthetic opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't do that. I would paint that this color, or
Yeah.
I would use this siding. And he also, in our time together, he offers like spatial planning. Hey, why don't you flip that door to the other side of the pantry, rotate the powder room 90 degrees, and then stretch it out 6 inches, and you might be able to squeeze the shower into this corner.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you know, it works, and it works perfect.
Yeah.
Like, as an architect, finding somebody like Jim and working through, it is truly a privilege to work with someone like him,
That's awesome.
because he is he is a great teammate.
Steve, I want to switch gears and talk about your series here, because I think one of the things that's so interesting about your series in particular, and I'm going to relay this back to job sites I've been on with you, is that there is a certain amount of surprise education that I've gotten that I didn't expect. And here's an example, like the multi-gen on a budget project. I got to visit that project. I watched the series. And the first time I heard about it, I was like, multi-generation, I'm probably not going to build a house like that. So why would I watch this? And then you get into it and you realize there's so much good building science. There's so many good, like the part about being on a budget. You had a homeowner that was also the builder and really was like, here's why we did this, Matt, instead of that. And I'm saying that as if he was talking to me as I'm watching the series. He's saying, Steve, this, and this. The air tightness details were some things I hadn't seen before on that house. The issue of living with kind of a house above another house where you had this multi-gen. I just learned so much for that series, even though I wasn't building a multi-generational house in the short term, and was like, I got to watch everything about this because that's exactly what I want to build. This one, on the other hand, I think when we think about forever home, any builder who's in their 40s is already either thinking about it or as a client who goes, hey, I want to build my forever home. Yeah. So I suspect there's going to be a lot of Easter eggs, things that you don't expect on the series. Would you let us peek under the covers on one or two things that you think are going to be interesting learning on this?
Very much. One of the things as I do series, and this is, I don't know, my fourth or fifth, maybe more. I don't keep track. But the one thing that I'm really concentrating on here is to understand why are we making the decisions we made, right? And I'll give you an example. We're using a Rockwool Comfort Board 80 on the outside of our foundation as protection board to the waterproofing.
Okay.
Does it drain water? It does. Is it the best drainage of water? No, not even close. If you pour water on it, eventually it'll make its way down to the bottom or it'll dry out.
But it's not.
Right. But I shot a video, and I'm going to leave the why, but we've fully outlined why I'm comfortable to put that type of mat up against the waterproofing.
You got to stay tuned to watch that.
Yeah. So you have to watch it because it's a question about risk and how do we mitigate risk. Right. And I talk about the decisions that were behind the decision of using that product on the wall that allows it to be an okay decision.
Yeah, and that's a site-specific decision, too, that you're going to see. I actually know the answer on this one already. Yeah, we talked about this the other day. Very
site-specific. And it's the same with framing and such. Why does the floor plan look the way it does? Why does the framing, why is it a trimmable floor joist?
It's pretty awesome.
Right?
Is Big Red going to be...
Big Red has already been heartily
Just
active.
Making sure he's going to be active.
Big Red is already, we walked through the plans. I think it was a short 25-minute video where I walked through the 3 floor plans.
If you don't know what we're talking about, our podcast listeners, Steve has a red Sharpie that he nicknamed Big Red a couple, 3-4 years ago. And I've said this before, he's the only architect I've ever seen that is willing to literally show you his very specific details. But not just that, run through why it works, where are the control layers, what's the continuity on this to this material, and really show you how the project comes together. So when we think about a series build rather than a one-off video, I think that there's so much learning that happens on these series builds. And I'm really excited about them, Steve, because I think they're also very, they're not locked in time.
Yeah.
Right. Like these series, I think are going to be every bit as relevant a decade from now for architecture students that are 10-year-olds now and are going to watch this as a 20-year-old, or for my kids that are hoping to take my spot in the building company someday. They're going to go back and watch these videos that are 10 years old. Absolutely be relevant. Yeah. And speaking of that, details that you designed 15 years ago show up in our Build Science 401 series,
yes,
where we talk about, hey, would I still do this detail today? Stay tuned for our next podcast. We're going to be jumping into Build Science 401. But Steve, really appreciate the time in the studio today, man.
Yeah. No, you got to check out the series. I'm going to, in the future ones, I'm going to get Jim a little more involved. He's a little camera shy. But
I want to see
Taylor on.
I want to see Jim and Taylor's take on Ready Frame. I think that's going to be fascinating. Yeah, so it literally just dropped today.
We're going to be there. Yeah. It got dropped on Monday, so they've been working at it while I'm down here in Texas. And we're going to go there Friday, and we're going to shoot a bunch of video. But I'm going to grab Jim and see what he thinks, because not only did Builders First Source help us with the Ready Frame, they flew in what they consider their Ready Frame expert.
That's awesome.
And he's been working with the framer for 3 days
to get him up to speed,
kind of
to
get
make
him
sure
up
he
to
knows what he's
speed,
doing,
to understand what it is, what their attack plan is.
So I want to fast forward to Friday, and I want you to pose a question. Actually, maybe this isn't Friday, a week from Friday. I want you to go to the framer at the end of the job and say, all right, now that you've done 2 questions. Number 1, do you think this in any way hurts the framing industry? Like I have heard framers like, oh, that's terrible for our industry. We lose all this knowledge about how to do this or that. And secondly, would he do it again?
Right. I will definitely.
Those are 2 good questions I want you to answer on this series as we get there.
Knowing this framer, I would say that he's going to find both favorable. But I will ask, and I'll give you the honest answer.
I like it.
But he's a really great guy. And like I said, Jim and Taylor, they're a dream to work with. They've put up, the couple things about a series. When you do a series and we bring a builder on board, like, I've warned Jim, and this from the Rising or Build and all the series and stuff that you do. Like, there's interruptions in the building sequence.
Oh, yeah, for
like,
sure.
It's like, hey, Jim, can you get the framers there on Monday? Because we're going to be down Tuesday afternoon. Can they just frame the floor over in this corner? Can they get this? Can we get a couple extra LVLs out there to make sure this beam is in or whatever the case is? And Jim, like, he doesn't say no. He is totally a guy who's, okay, if that's what you need, we'll get that. And I'll just text you when I have verification that stuff will be on site tomorrow.
That's so great.
And then we'll get it installed. So, just real kudos to him in Taylor and being part of the series. Because behind the scenes, I don't think you guys watch the video, but you don't understand all of the things that are happening to put that 20, 30-minute video together. And all the stars that have to align to make that happen.
So, guys, go to your web browser, type in thebuildshow.com or buildshownetwork.com. You're going to see 3 little lines at the top, either on your phone or your computer. They'll call that a hamburger menu. When you click that, the first thing that says is Build Experts. That's where you're going to find Steve and I and our landing page. You can watch Steve's bio. If for some reason you're new to Steve, you can watch all his videos from his landing page. But the series we're talking about is on the very next one that says Build Originals. We've done quite a few series now. And if you hit that Build Originals tab, that's where you'll see this series, the Forever Home, I think it's called, right? Or it probably is listed as Forever Home. But either way, hit that, you'll get to the landing page. And then as we add new content to that landing page, that's when you're going to see it. And a couple of things I want to note real quick about our website. Everything's free. You don't have to log in to use it. There's no barriers to it. But if you do develop a login for it, there's some benefits. And in fact, by the time this is out, we will be able for you to do some new features that are coming out any second now. I think by the time this podcast is up, including making your own playlists, saving videos for the future on there. A lot of the functionality that you might have seen on the YouTubes in the past, we're trying to bring that to thebuildshow.com. And unlike YouTube, we don't break in any videos in the middle with an ad. You watch a 15 or 30-second ad before the video starts, and that's it. So our content is very accessible, very free. We're trying to make no barriers for you to watch it. And we got some manufacturer partners to pay for us, to pay Steve and I's time, to pay for Rowan and Daniel, the camera guys out there, to edit it, to get the whole team behind the scenes that does this. They've paid for all that so that you can watch this content 100% free. There's no $20 a month like Netflix, 100% free. That being said, though, sign up for our newsletter if you haven't. We'll try and put a link in the podcast because that's how you know what's new. Like our newsletter that's coming out this weekend on Sunday is going to say, check out this brand new series with Steve Baczek called Forever Home with a link. Boom, you can hit it and go right to it. Yeah. Sit down on your couch. And by the way, you can stream all our stuff from our phone. You probably know that, but you can just hit that button to screen share it from your phone to your Samsung Smart TV, Sony TV, whatever. So you don't have to watch it on your phone on the couch with the family. You can watch it up there. And the last thing I'll comment, I'm really proud of how our entire site, everything we publish is family friendly. There's nothing on our site you can't sit down with your 10-year-old and watch and grab that popcorn. There's no swearing. There's no questionable material. This isn't PG-13. This is PG minus. Yeah. It's probably G is really where it lands because we want to make things really accessible and pass that knowledge down. Steve, you're an absolute gem in the industry.
I got 2 questions.
Yeah, please.
So
hit me.
One is for my Build Show people. All right, we come on podcast. Matt always asks a bunch of questions. Why don't we put Matt on the spot? Would you like that? I'm going to ask him a question.
I'm worried.
See.
Uh-oh.
All right.
I'm getting nervous.
Question. We talked about all the information. I've been with Build Show now for probably closing in on 5 years.
5 years when we launched the site.
How many videos do I have in my catalog on the Build Show?
Oh my gosh, Steve. I'd be willing to bet you have 300, 400?
About 432.
Oh, I was close, actually.
Yeah,
432.
You did really well. You did really
Not
well.
bad.
And they're all free. And I'm one of 14.
Yeah.
So there is a ton of information.
A ton.
I watch a couple of the contributors religiously. I'm not going to tell you who they are.
It's Eric Connie. We all know.
Well, only when he's cutting water heaters.
Oh, okay. Well, that's true. That's true. All right, guys. I really appreciate your time. Of course, go follow Steve and I on the socials. Steven Baczek Architect. And he's got his kids working with him now. It'd be fun to go follow Steve-Os and Alexandra. Sorry, I keep calling her the wrong name. On their socials as well. You can see Steve tag them. So go check them out. And everything, of course, that's new on thebuildshow.com. With that being said, follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on the Build Show podcast.